Hello, my Drawing and Painting 2 students. I wanted to record a tutorial for you so that you know how to create a high quality reference photo for our portrait. I'm going to go through this tutorial where I teach you how to convert your photograph or your selfie into a black and white photo, and finally step 2 into a posterized image. And this is for the sole purpose to map out the values found in your portrait accurately. So in this point, we're going to go to Google, and you're going to put in Google Photopea. Click go. You're researching the program. Again, Photopea. All right, and you will see it's the first search that comes up. Now, you can also add this as an extension on your Google Chromebook, which I would highly recommend because as you can see when you click in, this platform is very similar to Photoshop, which is a very high quality graphic design program. Now, we're here in the Photopea application. Our very first step is we are going to go to File, Open, and you can either take a new photograph or we are going to work with the selfie photograph of your choice that you would like to use for your portrait. I'm going to go to my photo library. Now you'll see that I've taken several photographs in order to experiment with the lighting, to experiment with the angle, to experiment with different facial expressions. It's very important that you love your photograph because the name of our project is self-value, so we want to focus on that and really express what we love about ourselves, and that can be found in our photo. For example, the one I'm going to select is this more serious looking one, and you can see I'm over by my piano keyboard. I love my piano. It's something that I value about myself and my life, and it's led me to go into my teaching profession. So the piano is really the root of it all for me. So I wanted to include that in my self-portrait. Also, you can see that I played with the lighting a bit in order to enhance the brightness on my face. And the more that you play with the lighting, the more of a dramatic effect you will have because you are developing chiaroscuro, which is another form of dramatic contrast. So it's the contrast in the light values. So make sure you choose the perfect selfie photo for you and your project. Now, once you open up your selfie photo onto Photopea, you will notice that it drops into this layers panel down here on the bottom right, and it will be labeled as background. Now, if I click on this little eyeball next to my image, you'll notice that my image disappears. Therefore, we can pretty much figure out that the eyeball tells us that we can see our image. Now, you also will see these dots around the photograph of your selfie. This means that your layer is selected. This is very important that you highlight or select the layer that you would like to work on, because if you do not, none of the work that you do will be recorded. So therefore, clicking on this so you guys can see, it's very important you click on your layer that you would like to work on. Now, if your layers panel does not show up, one way to find it is go up to Window, and you can go to Layers, and this should open up your layers panel as well. Okay, so we have our selfie image in Photopea, we have it selected, we're ready to work. Very first step is we're gonna go to Image, Adjustments, and all the way on the bottom you're going to select Desaturate. This will convert your color selfie into a black and white photograph. This will give you the ability to see the darkest tones, your mid-tones, and your brightest tones, or your highlights and your shadows. Either way, this is your accurate range of values seen in your selfie photograph. We can experiment with the contrast further. Again, I mentioned the lighting is really important in our photograph. Now we can enhance the lighting by playing with the contrast in this program. my tip is the more contrast you have in your photograph, the better. And you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments again. We're going to play with the brightness and contrast. I'm going to click here and drag this over so I can see my photograph and also see the effect that it makes. Make sure that your preview box is checked off so you can also see the effect that occurs on your image. So I'm going to increase my contrast, and you'll see now that my darkest tones got darker and my lighter tones got lighter. If I go the opposite way, you'll notice I start to fade out because the contrast has been decreased. Therefore, the values are no longer so stark in contrast or in difference to each other. You really want to go for a really high contrast photo. Make your best judgments. See, my photo is not the best all the way at 100%, but just about at, let's say, about 47%. I can still see some of the fabric in my sweater. My face isn't too bright, and my darkest tones are pretty dark, but they're not overpowering. So we still have some dark spots. I have some gray mid-tones going on, and I also have my bright highlight spots. I'm happy with it. I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go to File, Export as a PDF. So I'm going to go, format is PDF. Ooh, and look at all these different formats that we have available to us. Very exciting stuff. Now the width, I want to change that to inches because our portrait is going to be in inches. We're working with 9x12. This is a vertical portrait, so my height's going to be 12 inches. And my width is 9. Perfect. I want a high quality image, so my quality is at 100%. And now it's important that you rasterize all. So you want to rasterize all, rasterize your text, vectorize your text. Okay, and save. Now, why did we rasterize everything? What rasterization does is it fixates our photograph, such as when we use, let's say, hairspray to fixate a charcoal drawing. When I say fixate, it means that I made my photograph permanent. I converted all the vector shapes in my photograph and turned them into high quality pixels. So that is why we want to rasterize our photograph. One thing you should know, though, is once you rasterize an image, you cannot undo it. So once your image is final, just like how you fixate a charcoal drawing with hairspray, it's the same thing. You cannot undo this step. However, on that note, I have saved my photo. So now let's see. Export as, I did the PDF. Okay, I saved it. Beautiful, just to make sure. It's always good to make sure. All right, so now on this point, you're gonna go and upload this black and white image to your Google form. And you're also going to print it out. You need to fill the entire paper so that you have an 8.5 by 11 inch photograph. The next step you're going to do, you're going to see on page 2, we have step 2, which is posterizing your black and white photograph to map out the values. This will really help you as we begin to dictate where we need to crosshatch, where we need to add more hatching, where maybe you want to emphasize your squiggles by overlapping the lines more in order to build value. So again, we're going to go to File. Now, I'm leaving my image here, but you're going to open your black and white photo, Same exact steps as before. So this will be a test to see if you remember what our prior steps were. Again, you'll see your photo will open up on your background layer. Make sure your photograph is selected or highlighted so that you know you're working on your layer. You're activating this layer. You're going to go to Image next, Adjustments again, and you're going to go down to Posterize. I'm going to slide this over so I can see. Now you can see that your black and white photo has converted into a poster, and you can change the levels found in your poster by playing with this tool. I suggest that you find a nice place to map out your values, maybe somewhere between 5 and 11. Remember, your value scales also has 7 boxes. So maybe if you go to 7, you can dictate 1 pencil per each layer that you say. Or you can go for something that just works better for you. For example, I can see my gradients really clearly. I think it's best for me around, I like it right here. And that's a 12, so that's pretty high. So this still kind of looks like my photograph, but I kind of like that because I can see where my lightest lights are and my darkest darks. I have a pretty wide range here for my values. I'm happy with it, so I'm going to click OK. And now the same exact process where we go to File. Oh, where's it going? File. Okay. Export as PDF. You're going to export as a PDF. It's a 9 by 12 image, high quality, 100%. Everything is rasterized. You're going to save it. And now you're going to save and upload this posterized image to the Google form and print it out as well. So you will now have your black and white photo reference image as well as your value reference image. Both very important as we begin this project, so you are off in the right direction. On that note, I hope that everyone enjoyed this tutorial and learned something about Photopea. I will see you guys in class. Bye, everyone.